Good morning, students. Welcome to the lecture of Operational Research. In the last lecture, we have studied the formulation of linear programming problem, rather a general formulation, standard form, matrix form, etc. I'll just recall what is a general formulation. The general formulation of a linear programming problem is to find out the values of indecision variables, also called as original variables, x1, x2 up to xn in order to maximize or minimize the objective function. The objective function is linear no doubt. Z is equal to c1x1, c2x2 plus cnxn subject to these constraints. The constraints are also linear inequalities. Whenever we are saying inequality, therefore there are three possibilities: less equal or greater equal or equal to. Therefore these are called as linear inequalities. The right hand is b1 to bm values are called as right hand side constant and also satisfies the non-negativity restriction. That is, the values of all the decision variables or all the original variables must be non-zero. Next concept we have studied is slack and surplus variable. Whenever we have an inequality with us is of the type less equal, in order to convert this inequality to strict equality, we are going to add a non-negative variable on the left hand side of the inequality. We is called as the slack variable. Next is surplus. See, the word slack is there is some amount which is less, which is slack, than the amount on the right hand side. Therefore, just to fill up that slack value, we are using the slack variable. Same thing we are going to define about the surplus variable. Whenever we have an inequality of the type greater equal and we want to convert this inequality to strict equality, if this value on the left hand side is somewhat greater, somewhat extra, somewhat surplus than the value on the right hand side. Therefore, just to remove that surplus value, we are subtracting a non-negative variable from the left hand side and is called as a surplus variable. Therefore, what is the standard form of linear programming problem? First step says that the objective function of the given linear programming problem must be in the maximization form. Therefore, if the objective function was given in the minimization form, what we have to do? We have to convert it to maximization by using this relation. What is this relation? Minimize z is minus of maximize of minus z. Right? Next, second rule says that all the constraints should convert it to the strict equations except non-negativity restrictions. Okay, and how we can convert those inequality constraint to equations? By using slack and oblique or surplus variable as per the inequalities prescribed in the given example. All the right hand side constant must be non-negative. If not, what we have to do? We have to multiply the equation by minus 1 so that the right hand side will become non-negative. And all the variables must have a non-negative value. Actually, in this section, we are taking all the values of the variables to be non-negative. But in the topic of duality, we are going to deal with the unrestricted variable. Unrestricted variable, we don't know what is the value, whether it is non-negative or non-positive. So for that unrestricted variable can be replaced by the difference of two non-negative variables. Therefore, depending on the relation between these two non-negative variables. For example, here we have written x1 is unrestricted, where we have replaced that x1 with the difference of x1 dash and x1 double dash. Therefore, if x1 double dash is greater equal by x1 dash is greater equal by x1 double dash, the value will be non-negative. If not, it will be non-positive. Therefore, depending upon the values, we will get the. Therefore, how should we convert the variable MPP to the standard one? By using these four rules. So this is a standard form of linear programming problem. This is maxima. All the constraints are equal to, right? Non-negative constraints we have, and all the right hand side constraints also non-negative. Then we have seen the matrix form. This same system of equation we are going to represent by using the matrix form. So the matrix form of the linear programming problem is maximize z is equals to cx subject to ax equals to b provided x is greater equal by 0, b is greater than equal. What is c? C is the cost matrix. C is the cost matrix. X is the variables, b is the right hand side constant, and a is the coefficient matrix. We have discussed in detail how is the order of every matrix and all, right? Next, we have discussed the solutions of LPP. What are the meaning of solutions? Whenever we call solution to an LPP, it means that simply the values of the variable satisfies the set of constraints. Okay, any values of the variables, original variables or decision variables, which satisfies the set of constraints called as the solution. What is feasible solution? If the values of the variable satisfy set of constraints as well as non-negativity restrictions, then it is called as feasible solution. Third is basic solution. Basic solution also we have discussed in detail. Actually, we have a system of m simultaneous linear equations in n plus m variables. Therefore, to get the unique or finite solution, we are going to put any n variables to 0 so that we remain with m non-zero basic variables with n equations. Correct? Whichever the variables we are keeping to 0 called as non-basic, whichever the variables we are taking as non-zero called as basic. Therefore, we are after whatever the solution we get after solving this set of constraints, that is by setting any n variables among m plus n variables equals to 0, provided the remaining m variables should have the determinant of the coefficient matrix should be non-zero, right? Whatever the solution we have obtained called as basic solution. Therefore, how many number of basic solutions do we have? Actually, we have to select m non-zero variables among m plus n. Therefore, this is just a combination m plus m c m. What is basic feasible solution? A basic solution which also which is also feasible or which also satisfies non-negativity restriction. There are two parts: non-degenerate and degenerate. Non-degenerate means we have exactly m positive x. Right? In degenerate, we have one or more basic variables are zero value. Optimum basic feasible solution is the basic feasible solution which gives us the optimum value. Right? Unbounded means the value of the objective function can be increased or decreased indefinitely. It is called as unbounded solution. Now in today's lecture, we are moving ahead towards the fundamental theorems of linear programming problem. Actually, while solving the linear programming problem by graphical method, we have obtained the basic feasible solution, rather the solution at the corner points of the feasible region, that is extreme point. Means there should be a relation between the basic feasible solution or optimal basic feasible solution along with the or to the extreme points. Therefore, these two fundamental theorems of linear programming problem help us to understand why we are considering only the extreme points of the feasible region, not all bound inside points of the feasible region. Therefore, let us have a look to the first fundamental theorem. The first fundamental theorem says that collection of all feasible solution constitutes a convex set and whose extreme points corresponds to a basic feasible solution. Right? Therefore, whatever the feasible region we are obtaining is a convex set and the extreme point of the convex set corresponds to the basic feasible solution. Let me write the statement of the theorem. The statement says that prove that the collection of all feasible solutions to LPP constitute a convex set whose extreme points correspond to the basic feasible solution. Correspond to the basic feasible solution. Now, how many steps to prove in this theorem? There are two steps to prove. Sorry. There are two steps to prove. In the first step, we are going to prove the set of all feasible solution is a convex set, and in the second step, we will show that extreme points corresponds to the basic feasible solutions. Okay, let me move ahead towards the first step. To prove that the set of all feasible solutions constitute a convex set. What should I prove in order to prove the set to be a convex set?
The line joining of 2 points lies in the same set.
Good. That is the convex combination of 2 points is in the same set. Okay. For here we will write let capital F be the set of all feasible solution. If I am calling a feasible solution, how many condition I should impose on the set or impose on the solution? What do you mean by the set or the element of the set is a solution? If it is a solution, it satisfies the constraint. Okay. And if it is feasible solution, what is an extra condition should be satisfied?
The non-negative restrictions.
Yes, the set of vectors should satisfy the non-negativity restriction. Therefore, shall I write this is the values of set of variables x such that it satisfies the set of constraints. In the matrix form, we have written the set of constraints as x is equals to b. Correct, no? And what about the non-negativity restrictions? X is greater or equal by 0. Is the step clear to everyone? F is the collection of all vectors x such that x is equal to b and x is greater or equal by 0. It satisfies the set of constraints and non-negativity restrictions. Okay. Now, in order to prove this set to be convex, first case we will consider what will happen if the set constitutes or if the set contains only one point. Means it has only one set, one feasible solution, unique feasible solution rather. Then by convention one can say that the set is convex set. But if it has more than one point, we have to discuss. Correct? Therefore, let me write if the set here has only one element, then capital F is convex. Hence the theorem is true in this case. Hence the theorem is true in this case. Let me put a small star here. This is the first possibility. Now in the second possibility, what we are going to assume? Now assume there are at least 2 points. Assume that there are at least 2 distinct points. X1 and X2 in, yeah, see what we are saying, at least 2 distinct points means it has number of distinct points. Now if these two are the feasible solution, means it satisfies both these restrictions defined on the set. Correct, no? Therefore, how can I write this? Then may I write Ax1 is equal to b and Ax2 is equal to b, comma, x1 greater equal by 0, x2 greater equal by 0. Correct? That is x1 satisfies a set of constraints and non-negative restriction. Similarly, x2 does. Now what to do? We will consider the convex combination of these two points. Here I write. Now we will show that convex combination of these two feasible solutions. Instead of these two, I'll write any two feasible solutions is also a feasible solution. Is also a feasible solution. Therefore, what we have to do a first step, we have to consider the convex combination of these two points. Here I'll write let x naught be the convex combination. What is the convex combination? This is lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. What about the values of lambda? It lies between
0 to 1.
0 to 1. This is the convex combination, right? This is the convex combination. Now what is the aim to show that this x naught is in F? If I want to show that this x naught is in F, what we have to show? This x naught satisfies the restriction on this set. What are the restrictions on the set? X is equals to b, x is greater or equal to 0. Therefore, what I have to check whether x naught satisfies this equation, that is a x naught is equal to b and x naught is greater or equal to 0. Right? Therefore, what should I consider? I should consider a x naught, and what is the aim to prove it is equal to b, right? So let me write a. What is x naught? X naught is lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. Multiplying by a, taking lambda out, we get this is a x1 plus 1 minus lambda times a x2. But already we have written x1 and x2 are the two values. Let me call this as the equation number 1. x1 x2 is equal to b. Therefore, here let me just substitute. This is lambda b plus 1 minus lambda b. Lambda b cancel, v remains with b only. Lambda b cancel, v remains with o. Therefore, we have proved the first condition, ax naught is equals to b. Still the second one remains to prove that x naught is greater or equal by 0. Now look at this x naught. What about the values of x naught? Here I'll write it. And x naught is equal to lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. Look at the terms involved. As the lambda values lies between 0 to 1, what about these values? Lambda, is it? Yes, is it non-negative? Lambda is non-negative. What about 1 minus lambda? Is it non-negative or not?
Yes, ma'am, it is also non-negative.
It is non-negative. What about x1 and x2? x1, x2 already we have written as a feasible solution. Therefore, those two are also non-negative. Therefore, here x1 is non-negative, x2 is also non-negative. What about the product of two non-negatives? Is non-negative. What about the addition of non-negatives? Still non-negative. Therefore, what we have obtained, x0 is also non-negative. Here I'll write, since 0 less than or equals to lambda less than or equals to 1, and x1 non-negative, x2 non-negative implies x0 is non-negative. So we have proved x0 satisfies the setup constant, that is ax0 is equals to b. Let me call it as statement number 2 say, and let this be statement number 3. So from 2 and 3 what we have observed? 2 gives us that x0 satisfies the setup constraint. 3 gives us x0 satisfies the non-negativity restriction. Therefore, what this implies? x0 is feasible solution of linear programming problem. Therefore, x0 belongs to here. Therefore, what x0 we have considered? Convex combination of x1 and x2. Thus, F is a convex set. Yes, is there any difficulty up to this? It is a convex set. If you have the difficulty, you can ask.
No, ma'am.
Good. Now we will prove the second part of the theorem. In the second part, it was asked us to prove that extreme points correspond to basic feasible solution. Therefore, I will write step 2 as extreme point correspondence. extreme point correspondence. Now, what this extreme point in this extreme point correspondence, what we have to show that we will start with a basic feasible solution, and we will show that this basic feasible solution is an extreme point or is obtained at an extreme point. Okay, let us recall what is basic feasible solution. What is basic feasible solution? Out of m plus n variable, we have to keep any n variables to 0, which are called as non-basic, and remaining n non-zero variables are called as basic, and then we are going to solve for this system of equations. Here we have seen how ax equal to b converted to bxb is equals to b. Correct now? Now we are going to use the same aspect, right? So let me start with a basic feasible solution. Suppose now I am going to write x. Okay, what is x? What is x? Set of all variables. Now I am going to divide it into basic and non-basics. What basics xb stands for? Xb stands for basic variable. What will be the count of basic variable? M. And what is remaining? Remaining are 0 value. Therefore, let me write this as 0 vector. How many tuples it will have? N tuple, right? Therefore, this B basic feasible solution. This be a basic feasible solution where what is XB? XB is an M cross 1 vector. M cross 1 means it's a column vector. Correct na? Right? And 0 is N cross 1 vector. Right? Next, for a non-singular submatrix, B of A, we have BXB is equal to B. Let me repeat how that BXB is equals to B came out. This is our system coefficient matrix A. Okay, this is X. Okay, is equal to B. We have seen in detail how by the order of the matrices, how the product is going to exist. Now, out of these n plus m variables, we are keeping n variables to 0 so that B remains with only m variables. Correct? Therefore, suppose, and how those m variables are being selected such that the determinant of the coefficient matrix is non-zero. Okay. For time being, suppose I have selected these m variables xn plus 1, xn plus 2 to xn plus m to be the basic variables, and suppose we have kept the values of these variables as 0. Right? So what kind of system we have? Let me write here itself. Okay, see, this is not to be included in the proof. Okay, this is for your sake of understanding. We are showing what is A, A11, A12 dot dot A1n 1 0 0 dot dot 0, A21, A22 dot dot up to A2n 0 1 0 dot dot 0, so on AM1, AM2 up to AMN 0 0 0 dotted up to 0. This is my A matrix into X matrix. What is my X matrix? X1, X2 up to Xn, Xn plus 1 to Xn plus m. Correct? In all m plus n, n plus m variable is equal to B1, B2 up to Bm. Okay, let us write the order of the matrices. What is the order? M rows into how many columns? N plus m columns. Okay, multiplied by how many rows we have here? n plus m rows we have. How many column? Only one column, and which is equals to m cross y. Okay, therefore this system we are writing Ax is equal to b. Now among these variables, okay, here I will write the variables. This first column corresponds to coefficients xn. Second x2, xn plus 1, xn plus 2 up to xn plus m. Out of these n plus m variables, suppose the first n variables we have kept 0 and we have selected these m variables. Therefore, what this matrix is going to form? This matrix will be a submatrix of A, and let me call this submatrix to be submatrix B. Okay, submatrix B of A we have selected. What is the order of this matrix? How many rows? No doubt m rows. How many columns now we have? Yes, m we have selected. Therefore, m cross m. Correct now? Now, similarly, we will select a submatrix of this X. First n variables we have kept 0. Therefore, just put them 0. What we left with? We left with X. How many variables? Or rather, it's a submatrix. Submatrix corresponding to basic variables. Therefore, this is BXB. What is the order of XB? No doubt, m variables we will select, and how many columns? One column. And this is nothing but small b again, which is of the order m cross 1. Correct? B is a submatrix of A. XB is a submatrix of X, where BXB constitutes B again. Right? Therefore, whenever BXB is equals to B, what will be my XB? Is it B inverse B? Is it B inverse B? Therefore, in order to find out this basic feasible solution, one has to find out the inverse of B. And when the inverse of B is going to exist? Only if this matrix B is non-singular. That is, determinant of this matrix is non-zero. That's where the condition is added in the basic solutions. Correct? Therefore, BXB is equal to B, we were selected. Right? Out of AX is equal to B. What is XB represents? XB represents basic solution. What about a non-basic solution? Non-basic solution is going to be 0 always. I hope this step is clear. For a non-singular submatrix, B of A, we have BXB is equal to B. Now, whenever we have BXB is equal to B, now we will consider, or we will assume that the point X at which we will get the basic feasible solution is not an extreme point. Actually, we want to prove that it is an extreme point. Okay, but here we will say that this X is not an extreme. Somewhere we will get the contradiction. Okay, here actually what we want to prove that? To prove that X is an extreme point. That is, basic feasible solution is obtained at the extreme point. But what we are assuming, a contradictory assumption. Let us assume that X is not extreme point. What do we mean by X is not extreme point? Whenever we say that it's an extreme point, then it cannot be expressed as a convex combination of two vectors. Now here I am saying not extreme. Means, shall I say that X can be expressed as the convex combination of two distinct points. Correct? Means it can lie between the 2 points of the feasible region. Right? So here I write, if possible, directly I'll write, suppose that there exists x1, x2 belongs to here, so that, or let me write x1 not equals to x2. Distinct points I am selecting. x1 not equals to x2, so that, what, so that x is equal to lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. What is the restriction on lambda?
Strictly less than 0.
Yes, it is strictly greater than 0, strictly less by 1. For extreme point, we are writing strictly less because we don't want that x to be the boundary points. We want to prove, or we want this to be the inner point of the 2 points. So it lies between the 2 points x1 and x2. Is that clear to everyone? Now let me write what is x1 and x2. What x1 and x2 actually are, as these two are the elements of F, means those are the feasible solution. Therefore, let me write x1 to be the vector u1 v1, x2 to be the vector u2 v2. Okay, why this differentiation we have made? Because for xb already we have written basic, non-basic separately. First are m variable n tuple vector, second are n tuple vectors. Likewise here we have written first is m tuple, second is n tuple vector x1 and x2. Therefore here let me write where u1 u2 are m cross 1 vectors, v1 v2 are n cross 1 vectors. Okay, now we'll just equate, we'll put the values of x, x1 and x2 in this, I think it's a statement number 4, right? Therefore 4 becomes, now what is x we have taken? X is xb0 is equal to lambda times, so it is x1, this is u1 v1 plus 1 minus lambda times u2 v2. Okay, so let us equate instead of coordinate wise, I will say vector wise. Therefore, first xb is equal to, is it lambda u1 plus 1 minus lambda u2. Similarly, a 0 tuple vector 0 is equal to lambda v1 plus 1 minus lambda v2. 1 minus lambda v2. Now look at this equation number 2 carefully. What about lambda? As lambda lies strictly between 0 to 1, means this lambda is strictly positive. What about 1 minus lambda? Is it strictly positive? Again, both the values, lambda and 1 minus lambda will be positive. What about v1 and v2? v1, v2, as these vectors belongs to a, F is the vector of collection of all feasible solutions, means non-negative. Non-negative values it will have. Therefore, may I say v1 is non-positive? v2 is also non-positive, but the resultant is 0. When this could be possible? For which two values of v1, v2, this product gives me a 0 value. Yes?
If they itself are 0.
Yes, since both are equal to 0. Since lambda lies between 0 to 1 and v1, v2 both are greater or equal by 0, this implies, may I write v1 is equal to 0 and v2 is equal to 0. v1 is equal to 0 and v2 is equal to 0. Thus, what will be x1? x1 is it u1 0? And what about x2? This is u2 0. Right? And x is u1 0, x1 is u1 0 and x2 is u2 0. Now as x1 x2 are the feasible solutions, means it satisfies the equation. Right? Yes, x1 and x2 satisfy. What it is satisfying? Is it ax equal to b? Right? No? Ax is equal to b. Sorry, bxb is equal to b, I'll write. Satisfied bxb is equal to b, because whichever the value satisfies ax equal to b, we have seen that it satisfies bxb is equal to b as per the selection. Therefore, if this satisfies bxb is equal to b, let me put the value of x1. If I put x1, what will happen? Yes, is it b u1 is equal to b, and this is b u2 is equal to b, right? Whether everyone getting me? Ax equal to b gives me bxb is equal to b. What is xb in x1? basic variable u1. What is xb in x2? That is basic variable, which is u2. Therefore, it gives us b u1 is equal to b and b u2 is equal to b. Okay, since what we have also since bxb is equal to b, right? This is an expression of b as a linear combination of basic vectors, and this must be unique. Since the expression of b as a linear combination, correct na? Whenever we are writing this to be a linear combination of basic vectors, that combination must be unique. Linear combination of basis vectors must be unique. If it is unique, therefore what we were getting? Yes. Is it u1 is equal to u2 is equal to xb? What shall I write? xb is equal to u1 is equal to u2. But if u1 is equal to u2, whether it gives us x1 is equal to x2 or not. u1 equal to u2 gives us, which implies x1 is equal to x2. But what we have started with, x1, x2 are the two distinct points where x is assumed to be the convex combination of these 2 points, so that x will be an extreme point. But if these 2 points are not distinct, if these 2 are same, therefore may I say x is not an extreme. Sorry, x is not an extreme is wrong. There is a contradiction to x is not an extreme. Contradiction to x is not an extreme. What does it mean? X is an extreme point. If so, this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction to, yes, contradiction to which statement? X is
Not extreme.
not an extreme point. This is a contradiction to not an extreme point. Therefore, may I say x is an extreme point of the feasible solution set, right? That is capital F. Therefore, whatever is the basic feasible solution, we will get the basic feasible solution only at the extreme point. And whatever the basic solution we have, whichever is giving us optima, we will call it as optimum basic feasible solution. Therefore, now you can recall in graphical solution method, whatever the region we were obtaining, now suppose this is my feasible region, we were finding the value only at the extreme points, correct? No? Only at the extreme points. We were not finding the value at the boundary points. Why? Because basic feasible solution occurs only at the extreme points, and we will find out all the values of the objective function at all basic feasible solution, and whichever will give us the optimum will be the optimum basic feasible solution. This is the reason we are selecting only, we are finding the value of objective function only at extreme. This is the first fundamental theorem. If you have any doubt in this, you can ask me. 2 points we have made clear, that whatever is the feasible region we are obtaining in graphical also, this feasible region is a convex set. If it has convex set, it must, if it is a convex, we have proved this as a convex set. Second, we have proved whatever is the basic feasible solution, is obtained at the extreme point. At the extreme points. Is it clear to everyone? The first fundamental theorem.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Please repeat the second last step once again.
From this point, x1.
Yes, ma'am.
See, here we have found, with this statement, we have found the value of v1 is greater equal by 0, v2 is greater equal by 0, that of lambda and 1 minus lambda are strictly positive. Therefore, this right hand side is equal to 0 is possible only if v1, v2 takes 0. But as v1, v2 are taking 0 values, what about x1 and x2 then? x1, x2 we have assumed to be u1, v1, u2, V2. Therefore, those x1, x2 becomes U1 0 and U2 0. Therefore, what we have proved? The set of n vector, n tuple vector is 0 and there is a remaining with set of m tuple vector only. This is m tuple, this is n tuple. Therefore, this become my basic solution. This becomes my basic solution. If it becomes basic solution, what it has to satisfy? Bxb is equals to b. What about xb? Xb is my basic variable. Here, what is my basic variables? U1. Here also, this is m tuple vector. This is n tuple vector. This is my. These are my basic variables, right? These are the basic variables. And what about this zero value? These are non-basic variables. Therefore, let us put the value here. Therefore, this equation gives me b u1 is equal to b by putting u1. Similarly, by putting u2, it gives us b u2 is equals to b. But whenever I am writing bxb is equal to b, b as a linear combination of the basis vectors. This is the linear combination, no? The vector b is the linear combination of basis vectors. This combination must be unique, but already we have written that it is equal to bu1 is equals to b, bu2 is equals to b. Therefore, these three values, these three vectors, xb, u1, u2 are not different, they are same. Therefore, xb is equal to u1 is equal to u2. Why? This is the reason. Linear combination of basis vectors must be unique. In basis of linear space, we have studied these properties. Correct, na? Whenever we are writing a vector over the given field, the linear combination must be unique. Right? Therefore, this xb must be is equal to u1 and u2. And if u1 is equals to u2, what about x1 and x2? Look at this. They are same. Therefore, x1 is equal to x2 we have obtained. But we have started with an assumption that x is not extreme, so that we have taken these two to be the distinct points. But what we have obtained? These are not distinct. These are the two same points. This is a contradiction too. X is not extreme. Contradiction to x is not extreme. Therefore, what is the statement? X must be an extreme point. X must be an extreme. This is what by in graphical solution we have proved. Na? Whatever is a convex, whatever the feasible region we are obtaining must be a convex set as per the first step. By the second step, we are checking the values only at the extreme point, because only extreme point gives us the basic feasible solutions. Okay. Then among basic feasible solution, we are finding whichever gives us the optimum, so that it will become optimum basic feasible solution. Fine?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I hope there is no more difficulty from other students. If you have, you can ask. We will make it clear so that I can move towards the next fundamental theorem of linear programming. No difficulty? Shall I move to the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us write the next theorem. Now in the next theorem, we are going to prove that convex set of feasible solution, if it is convex polyhedron. Convex polyhedron means it has finite number of points. It's a convex hull, finite number of points. Then at least one extreme point gives an optimal solution. Like this. This is a convex hull, 4 points. Therefore, this is a convex polyhedron. Then at least one extreme point gives us the optimal solution. Actually, extreme point gives us the basic feasible solution just now we have seen. Okay, correct now? What we have seen? Extreme point gives. What this gives? This gives basic feasible solution. Now, by this theorem, what we are going to show? At least one gives us the optimal as well. Okay. One more part to prove in the next theorem. Suppose we have obtained the optimal solution at more than one extreme point, then the value remains the same at the convex combination of these extreme points. Let me write the statement and we will prove the result. The statement says that if the convex set of the feasible solution, convex set of the feasible solutions, Ax is equal to b greater equal by 0 is convex polyhedron. Is a convex polyhedron, then prove that at least one extreme point gives an optimal solution. At least one extreme point gives the optimal solution. I can call this as part 1, and part 2 what to prove? If the optimal solution is occurs, if the optimum solution occurs at more than one extreme point, then prove that the value of objective function, will be the same for all convex combinations of these extreme points. Okay, let us focus towards the first aspect to prove. In the first aspect, we want to prove that at least one extreme point gives us an optimal solution. Now, what we will do while proving this first part, we will assume there are some k extreme point of the given feasible region or feasible solutions. Okay, then what we will do, among all the extreme points, we will find out one extreme point at which the value of objective function is maximum among extreme points, I am saying. Then we will assume one point which is not an extreme, Suppose if I am assuming extreme points to be x1, x2 up to xk, okay. Among these k points, suppose at mth point I am getting the maximum value among the extreme points. We will get one extreme point at which the value of objective function is maximum. Now let us assume one more point which is not an extreme, say x0. Then we will compare the value of objective function at x0 and at xm. And the aim is to prove that the value of objective function at xm is greater or equal by the value of objective function at x0. So that it gives us the conclusion that extreme point gives us the optimal solution. Okay. Let us prove first part. Okay, what to prove actually? Extreme point gives, or at least one extreme. At least one extreme point gives optimal solution. Now let me assume some extreme points, say x1, x2, above up to say xk be the extreme points. Of the feasible region. Or set of all feasible solutions for the same thing. Feasible region here of the LPP. What is the LPP? Maxima z is equal to Ax subject to Ax equal to B, x is greater equal by 0. Okay. Now what is the assumption? Among the k extreme points, mth extreme point gives us the maximum value of the objective function. Suppose xm is the extreme point. Xm is the extreme point among x1 to xk, at which the value of objective function is maximum, and say z star. Okay, what is z star? If I put xm in this equation, the value of objective function will be z star. That is z star is equal to, what is this? This is maximum among all cxt, where t is between 1 to k. Correct, no? And this is nothing but cxm. Z star is cxm. Among the values of objective function at extreme point, mth extreme point gives us the largest value or maximum value. Okay. Now this is the about extreme points. Now we will assume one point which is not extreme, and then we will compare the value of objective function at extreme point and at not extreme point. We now consider a point x0 in F, which is not an extreme point. Now if it is not an extreme point, what does it mean? This x0 can be written as the convex combination of the points. Let me write the convex combination of these extreme points. Okay, and let the value of objective function at this point be z0, and z0 be the corresponding value of objective function. Corresponding value of objective function. Therefore, may I write z0 is cx0. Is it fine to everyone? Now we will make use of the property z0 is not, x0 is not extreme. Not extreme means I can write x0 to be the convex combination of the points in the feasible region, that is say x1 to xk. Here I will write since x0 is not an extreme, therefore it can be expressed as a convex combination of these extreme points. What is the convex combination of these extreme points? How can I write x1 the x0 then? Convex combination of two extreme points is known to us. Lambda x1 plus lambda minus lambda x2. What about convex combination of k extreme points? Even from the student side. Is the voice clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the convex combination of these k points? It's a linear combination with the two extra conditions. Say lambda 1 x1, lambda 2 x2 till lambda k x k. And what is the restriction? Where sum of the scalars used I equals to 1 to k is 1, and all lambda is a greater or equal by 0 for I equals to 1 to k. Fine to everyone? Now what we will do, we'll try to find out the relation between z0 and z star. Z0 and z star. Okay. Therefore, in order to find Z0, what we will do? We will multiply this equation by C on both the sides. So that it will be Z0. Or I can say substituting this X0 here. Let me give some numbers. Let me call this as 1. Let this be 2. Now we will put the value of X0 in 2. Put X0 in 2. What X0 in 2 gives me? Z0 is equal to C X0 is equal to C. Yes, what is X0? Lambda 1 X1. Correct now? Now what we'll do, we'll take lambdas out and we will check. We will multiply by C. Therefore, this is C X1. Lambda 2 out. We remains with C X2. So on lambda 3 out. We remains with C Xk. But what is Cx1, Cx2, Cxk? Cx1, Cx2, Cxk is the value of objective function at these extreme points. But what we have assumed, the mth extreme point gives us the maximum value. Therefore, what is the relation between the value at x1 and the value at xm? Value of objective function at x1 and value of objective function at xm. What is the relation?
Ma'am, x1 is less than xm.
Value at x1 is less than value at xm. That is Cx1 is less than or equals to Cxm. Correct, no? Same is true for the remaining as well. Right? Therefore, here I will write less than or equals to lambda 1 into Cx1. May I write less than or equals to Cxm? And for every step, I will replace this. Each value is less than or equals to Cxm. Here also Cxk is less than or equals to Cxm. Next step, we will take Cxm common. We will take Cxm common. What are the terms left with us? Lambda 1 to lambda k. But what is the addition? Lambda 1 to lambda k. This is 1. And what is Cxm we have assumed? This is Z star, na? Value of objective function at mth extreme point. Cxm is Z star. And what we have proved? The value Z star is greater equal by the value at Z star is greater equal by the value Z0. This is the value obtained at extreme point. Correct, na?
Yes, ma'am.
This is obtained at extreme point. Say xm we have written. And this value is obtained at not extreme point. X0. And we have proved the relation. The value of objective function at not extreme point is less equal by the value of objective function at extreme. That what should be my conclusion? The optimum value is obtained at the extreme points only. Correct? Any doubt up to this?
No, ma'am.
Therefore, shall I conclude, which implies that the optimal solution of given LPP is obtained at an extreme point. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we will go for the second part. Now what is asked in the second part? In the second part, it was given that if the optimal solution occurs at more than one extreme point, then value of objective function will be the same for all convex combination of these extreme points, right? That is, suppose among these x1 to xk, or among, suppose there are 10 extreme points. Out of 10 extreme points, suppose 5 extreme point is giving us the same value of objective function, maximum rather. Then we want to show that if I take the convex combination of these 5 extreme points, the value of objective function is going to remain the same. It is going to remain the same. Therefore, what we will assume in the second part, among x1 to xk, for the sake of convenience, say first r points among k points gives us the optimal solution. Then we will find out the convex combination of these r points, and we will check the value of objective function at the convex combination of these r points. Right? Let me write part 2. Now what should be the assumption? Let first r is giving us the maximum is my assumption. Let x1, x2 up to xr, where r is less than or equals to k. Okay, r is less than or equals to k, be the extreme points of the feasible region. Extreme points of the feasible region F, at which the objective function is, or objective function assumes, optimum value. Okay, what we want to say by this actually, so may this implies, say z star is the optimum value and is obtained at first r extreme point. Therefore, shall I write this is cx1 is equal to cx2 and that is equal to cxr. First r point gives us the optimum, right? And the value is say z star. Now what we will do? We will take the convex combination of these r points and again we will check the value at the convex combination. Okay. And the next line I will write, let us check the convex combination of these are extreme points. Okay, now I'll write the convex combination of these extreme points. We say x, and the convex combination is lambda 1 x1, lambda 2 x2, so on, lambda r x r. Yes, what are the conditions on the scalars?
Summation is 1 and they are non-negative.
Yes, summation is 1 and lambda is a non-negative. Now, what we have to do? We have to check the value of objective function at this extreme point. And we have to make the conclusion about the second part. Now, therefore, may I consider the value of objective function at this point, say cx? Correct, na? Okay. And what is cx? X is lambda 1 x1, lambda 2 x2 up to lambda r x r. Now we will multiply by c. Or here shall I mention, consider the value of objective function at x. Now multiplying by c, taking lambdas out, we get lambda 1 into cx1, lambda 2 into cx2, lambda r into cxr. But at all these r extreme points, what is the value we have assumed is the same and is equal to z star. Therefore, let me put z star, lambda 1 z star, lambda 2 z star, so on, lambda r z star. Someone number you have to give. What is the last number you have given? 2. Let me call this to be 3. And here the reason will be from 3. Now taking z star common, we remains with lambda 1 plus lambda 2 is equal to, plus lambda r, but this sum is always 1, therefore this is equal to z star. Therefore what we have obtained, the value of objective function at x is same, that is equal to the value of objective function at these extreme points. Okay, here the reason will be summation lambda is equal to 1. What we have proved? Value of objective function will be the same at the convex combination of the extreme points, and hence it is the proof. Yes? Any doubt about the proof of this statement?
No, ma'am.
If you have a doubt, you can ask. The 2 points we have proved. So in the first part, what we have proved, the extreme point gives us the optimal solution. Second point we have proved, suppose if the optimal solution occurs at more than one extreme point, then the value of objective function remains same for all the convex combination of these extreme points. Now the next point is actually regarding the method, simplex method. Okay. That simplex method we will discuss in the next lecture, because we have to discuss the method and then we have to go for the example. Now from next lecture on onwards, every student should be ready with pen and paper along with me, because now theoretical part is being finished. We are going to start the problems. Okay. So whatever the problems I am solving on the screen, the same you have to solve in your notebook as well. Because unless you make the practice of solving the examples, you will not be able to solve it in the exams also. Okay, therefore we will stop for today. We will continue with the simplex method, algorithm and examples in the next lecture. Thank you for being with me.